Okay, y'all, so I figured that while I've still got them in stock, that I could do a good comparison of kind of some of the very cheap weed eaters that you can buy. If you go to a store like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, the common ones that you find around the area, around the United States for that matter. So, backstory. I buy Walmart customer return merchandise. If you follow my channel, you'll see that I mostly do gas-powered push mowers. Get them on pallets, buy them, fix them, resell them. We're kind of in the midst of summer, so the season's kind of winding down, but most of this stock doesn't really change year over year. They might have changed like some of the look or whatnot with it. But let's get into it. I'll give you the price points, give you kind of the differences between the two, and I'll let y'all hear each of them run here in the garage here, just plug them in and whatnot. So the first one, I got them cheapest to most expensive. I have 3 corded here and 1 cordless. And I'm actually down to one of the Hyper Tough. I've only had 1 Homelite. So that's why I wanted to give you all a comparison before they sold. The Hyper Tough one, 4 amp, 12 inch grass trimmer. It says it's got a bump system. What you do is you squeeze the trigger. When you let off of it, right as it's about to finish cutting off, so to speak, as it's winding down, it'll actually extend the spool. You can tell that, I don't even know if this is 0.065 line, that might be 0.055 line, if that's even a thing, but very thin line. You'll probably use it up pretty quickly. None of these truthfully are for very heavy jobs. These are for mostly if you have a very small lot. You can pretty much reach anything with a 50-foot cord if you need to edge your driveway or edge some or weed eat some of your flower beds or whatnot. These are not ones you go out and do commercial use with for obvious reasons. They're just consumer grade stuff. So real quick, the cost of all 4 of them. Hyper Tough's around $25. The Homelite's about $30. The Black & Decker is close to $40. And the 20-volt cordless is around 60-ish, 60 to 70. So, starting with the Hyper Tough, I said it's 12 inch. It's got a pretty big shroud on it here for keeping the grass off your legs and whatnot. And all of them do for the most part, except for the 20-volt one down there, which is a 10-inch cut. So it's the smallest cut out of all of them, believe it or not. One of the weak points I have found on these grass trimmers, apart from the very small, thin line, is that a lot of them come to me and have one of the tabs broken on this little guard, and it's held on by 1 screw. So I would say that this is one of the weaker points of this weed eater. Overall, it's not bad for what it is. This actually has a pigtail for plugging it in. The other 2 corded ones, you actually plug right directly into the device. So you just kind of have to be careful about having that pigtail on it. None of them have safeties on them. You just pull the trigger and go. None of the corded ones do, which is kind of interesting because they're more powerful than the cordless one, and the cordless one actually has a safety on it. This one, obviously the cheapest weed eater that you're going to buy, comes with the handle on it, and it comes with this nice round screw to tighten it up with. So it's very easy to put the handle on. It's very easy to assemble too. It's just a two-piece design. This one, again, cheapest, does not have an adjustable handle, so it's a fixed handle. can't move it, you know, to adjust to your height. So that's kind of the lowdown on that. It does come with an edge guard. As you can see on the box, this one doesn't have it. But the Homelite one over here is very similar. It does have it. Again, you're paying $5 more. You're going to get something a little bit nicer. But again, we're talking about the under $50 range. Truthfully, the under $40 range is pretty much the cheapest things you can get to weed eat with. The Homelite is very similar. The handle is not as impressive, and it's got a little wing nut on the side versus that nice round thing to screw the handle onto the shaft with. So again, no safety, but you do plug it right into the back of the Weedeater there versus the pigtail on that one. It does have an adjustable handle. Let's see how easy it is to use. So unlocking it is just like that. Doesn't really go out very far, but you can turn it to, there we go. Let me pull y'all up here so that you can see it. But you can turn it in order to do like trim work. Just pull this handle out here, and now you can edge with it, and that turns the Weedeater upside down, as you can see. So you do have that feature with this. So $5 more, you get something a little bit nicer with a couple more features on it. Also, this is my favorite of the 3 shrouds because it actually wraps around the Weedeater head and is held on by 3 screws as opposed to 1. So there's an advantage in that aspect as well. This is a 13-inch cutting path and a 4 amp also. So same amps as the Hyper Tough. A little bit bigger cutting path, a little bit better quality, a couple more features. So again, $5 more, get a little bit more. Black & Decker, I think truthfully you're paying a little bit more for the brand. The Weedeater is a little bit nicer. You actually have an adjustable handle here where you can actually push the side of the handle over there. It'll unlock it for you. Just push it. You can adjust it kind of how you want. It also has the telescopic as well. You just unlock it, pull it out as far as you want to. Again, goes out maybe, let's compare it over here. Goes out maybe a shade further than the Homelite, but again, you're talking about maybe an inch, so not really that much. This is a 14-inch pattern, and it is quite a bit more powerful in the amp department as well. Let's look on the box. Looking at 6.5 amps right there on the top line under the specifications. So this is like I said, a 14-inch cutting width. Sells for about $40. Apart from that, very similar in nature to the Homelite here. You got a little bit more reputable brand, and your edger actually pulls out so you can retract it as opposed to just bend it up. This one's a well-used example. One big difference I just about forgot. Black & Deckers only have one line coming out for the spool here, as opposed to 2 that you see on the Homelite and the Hyper Tough. But you're talking about maybe, this is an aftermarket line on this one, but if you go to the Black & Decker here, you may be talking maybe just a shade bigger line. You might get a little bit more spool life out of it. And with 6.5 amps, it probably would better accommodate a little bit larger line if you decided to go to a 0.075 or a 0.085 maybe, potentially. So just keep that in mind. This one does have only a 1 screw attachment, but it does slide on to kind of the back of the Weedeater. So I wouldn't consider that a weak link. I don't really see any weak links in the Black & Decker. Again, plugs into the back here. It doesn't have a pigtail, doesn't have a safety on it. You just pull the trigger and go. And so that's kind of the lowdown on those three. Again, it's just kind of mostly how much you want to pay for a Weedeater, pretty much. Does an adjustable shaft make any difference, or can you deal with a fixed shaft, the pigtail, the smaller line, the lesser power maybe? I mean, it's pretty much tit for tat in this at this price point. You're not really upgrading that much, so to speak. But again, if you're looking for a cheap Weedeater, I wanted to at least give you all a synopsis of that. Really quickly, I'll go into this cordless one. It's a 10-inch. You're paying more because it's battery operated. Not near as powerful as the corded ones, but still will get the job done. So let me actually now just plug them in and just let y'all hear them run, just kind of hear the difference. They're most likely going to cut grass or trim the grass very similarly. Again, a little bit more power, but you compromise you compromise having 2 sides of the trimmer on there, so you might have to have a little bit more effort to weed eat. But let me just let y'all hear them run. And yeah, and hopefully I'll conclude this synopsis here. This one here, real quick, does have the safety on it. You have to push the button in on the side there in order to pull the trigger. And only a 10-inch because, again, battery operated, not quite as much power as if you plug it in. Still has the adjustable handle. The screw on this one it's only a 1 screw and a 2-tab setup, very similar to the Hyper Tough. So again, not the strongest setup there is, and the edger folds back instead of opposed to sliding. Your handle is fixed as well. There's no adjustable handle for it, and the battery mounts at the back. So since this is the least powerful one, let me run it real quick, and then we'll follow it up with the Hyper Tough and the other two. So this is Black & Decker battery operated. Again, battery operated is not going to be nearly as powerful. I did a battery test on these with no load a couple of videos back on my channel if you want to look at them. I got around 22, 23 minutes with no load on the battery, which was pretty impressive. I was thinking more in the neighborhood of around 15 or so, but I got somewhere in the mid-20s with it. Let me go get the Hyper Tough real quick. I'm going to plug it in and we'll listen to that. And near the end of that, you probably heard the auto feed bump it out, and you heard the string kind of slap against the straddle. So that way you know that the auto feed portion is working on the Weedeater. So the next one's the Homelite. Remember, you can adjust it from edger to a Weedeater setting by just pulling that up. You can adjust the handle out. So plug it into the back as opposed to a little pigtail. Here we go. I plug the cord in. As you can hear, it does the same thing to advance the line on the Homelite as it does the Hyper Tough. With 1 extra inch of string to pull around, it is. The RPMs seem to be adjusted slightly less, but probably not enough to make a difference. Finally, we're going to do the Black & Decker here. Again, the Hyper Tough's around $25. The Homelite's around $30, and the Black & Decker is closer to $40. Here's the Black & Decker. It's a 14-inch again. And you can hear the line advance too, right there at the very end also. So all of them use the feature of kind of releasing the trigger to advance the line, as opposed to like a bump hit or anything or something like that. So you just have to be mindful of it when you're operating. But you could kind of hear a little bit of difference since it's only throwing around 1 string in the Black & Decker versus throwing around 2 strings in the Hyper Tough and the Homelite. Again, probably not going to make that much of a difference, but in my opinion, it's a little bit nicer to have 2 strings going around, because most gas power Weedeaters do that, and these electric ones have enough oomph to cut with 2 strings and not really get bogged down. But definitely with the Black & Decker, 1 string for the cordless is probably the way to go, just because of the amount of power that it has. Not quite as much as these others. So you could probably hear a difference in how that one ran as opposed to how those 2 ran, just because of the difference in 1 versus 2 strings going around. This one doesn't seem quite as labored as those 2. Just from hearing them in the garage here, I don't know how well the audio came out on the video. But again, just wanted to give you all a good comparison. Hopefully it is a good comparison for y'all. And like I said, they're probably going to cut very similar. You might get slightly better cut with the Homelite and the Hyper Tough than the Black & Decker, just because of the amount of string that they have. You're cutting twice as much in one pass than with the Black & Decker, which I say is really the only disadvantage of the corded Black & Decker Weedeater. But thank y'all for watching. Hopefully y'all found this video informative. And if you're looking to buy one of these very inexpensive corded Weedeaters for your small yard, or just for doing very light work around the house, then hopefully I was able to help y'all decide. since I pretty much have Walmart's inventory of corded weed eaters. So thank you all again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Hopefully I'll have some sort of mowers, lawn equipment, or whatnot coming down the line. So if y'all like this, comparison videos like this, customer return stuff, lawn and garden stuff, feel free to subscribe. I'll try and keep the videos coming as the time comes, and we'll catch you on the next one.